Okay, I think we're live. This will be a quick player recap and reflections on last night's Symbaroum, session 7, part 2. The Eye of Apophis, Apophis. I think that's right. Um, wow. What the hell was that? That was awesome. I missed session 1, unfortunately. I missed a whole week of normal stuff, and unfortunately missed the opportunity to run Dark Age of Man Chronicle session 3. Unfortunately, that's like the 4th time we've had to postpone it, but it's just the nature of life. It's the nature of the holidays, etc., etc. So unfortunately, we'll get to it in January after the holidays have wrapped up. We'll get back to Dark Age of Man. At some point, I'll run Symbaroum 8 if we continue to play. I would assume we will, but who knows? Don't know. The guys may have, had their fill of Symbaroum. I'm enjoying it immensely. That was cool. Fantastic. Dale did a great job describing uh, this I would say dark, grisly, grotesque, um, uh, supernatural place where something again, something on the verge of I can't even explain it. It's certainly something I don't do well. It's amazing. Again, it's one of those things where this is what I love about sharing gaming with other people, and um sharing the GM seat with others, even in the same, because I'm always thrilled, of course, to play and to GM, but it's remarkable to see how what's in other people's imaginings, right? And also um, themes. It's just not something as a GM that I provide. It's not something I'm very good at. And Dell nails this stuff. It's fantastic and great. It was just great. I don't know what to tell you. It was for my thing, right? And this was very, I would argue, very traditional. I mean, Dell described everything and introduced every situation, and we would provide a very simple feedback of what we want to do or what we're trying to do. Um, and so, again, not at all like Dark Age of Man, not at all like the presenter seat that we do in our game. So again, it does provide a different feeling for a player or for a GM. Anyway, it was great. Very simple. I don't really want to recap the session. I think I leave that for Dell, as he did the recap of session 1, and I wasn't there for, it's not session 1, part 1 of this session. All I could tell you is that my character is Dell did a great job of, when I wasn't able to make it, he did a great job of fictionalizing or how my characters unfortunately disappeared from the party. And so then if I was able to get back for this session, he could introduce me as someone who'd been captured. And so my character wakes up having not seen any of this, had been knocked on the head and deposited in this place for this creature. And so my character wakes up, which is great because my character doesn't know what they've seen. He doesn't know what they've encountered. He doesn't have a clue how he got here. So you can imagine Taro would have woke up and just seen this creature and eventually and seen his colleagues battling this creature, not knowing at all how that all got there, right? I could just imagine how confusing Taro might be, assuming, did they all get captured? Did they all break loose? It's so in my mindset, it's like Taro is completely and utterly like, what? It's like hell on earth. So Taro's at every moment I am attempting to find the way out, right? Taro just climbs, we're fighting this creature. And John, by the way, Dell's GMing us. It's David is Malleus. He's more of a warrior, ex-soldier. We have Todd as Cabello, and Cabello is kind of a mystical rogue slash. Yeah, it's hard to, I can't quite identify, and that's what's great about Symbaroum is they're archetypes, but you can build a character kind of any way you see fit. And Todd is definitely more of a roguish. It's hard, you want to we generally want to generalize, we want to compartmentalize. but Todd is defied. He's defied that, which is kind of cool, right? I don't really know, what Todd's archetype is, which is kind of cool. Not Todd, but his character. And then, of course, John is an ogre, the big lug, which my character would have obviously met in transit before, right? But I have not played with big lug as Tarot. So this was my first time to play with John as Tarot. And so Tarot does a great job. We battle this creature. I free myself from this cocoon of, whatever excrement or whatever it is this thing was trying to seal me in as like a pod. And while they're fighting the creature, Malleus is waylaid with one shot. We're battling it, I would say, unsuccessfully. Fortunately, Big Lug uses his girth and his mass to push the creature into this water-like void where gravity is reversed, and he almost knocks him off completely into this watery, murky. He manages to slingshot himself back into the room, in which, fortunately, Big Lug with his spear takes out his only eye. He has like a center eye. His other eyes are gone. He has one center eye, and blinds him. And the minute Tarot sees he's blinded, I'm not interested in killing it. I'm interested in getting away from it. And once I see he's blinded and wailing in the corner, Tarot immediately starts looking for an exit. And I climb up and out of this thing that looks like they dropped me into. So I kind of, whatever knocked me unconscious and threw me in here into this thing, I kind of climbed up and out of it, and they followed suit. We again tried to work our way through this strange place, this kind of, and again, what's great is Dell does a great job in detail with some things. How do I say this? Dell does a great job giving us the detail, almost, how do I say it? Dell does a great job of leaving the edges vague, but giving us great detail on some things, which creates mystery, right? It actually creates this sense that we've got tunnel vision, right? It's creating this sense that we're focused on what's in front of us, but there's just enough of this vague around the edges in how Dell presents his world or the atmosphere, the situation, which is remarkable, because if as a human being or as a creature trying to survive in some crazy world, you are adrenaline's hyped and you are pretty much drilled in on the thing, but leaving the I would say like vignette. I would say it's like vignette art, right? The edges drift away into the kind of irrelevance, and he drills in on the details, and it does create a sense that we are blind, right? We couldn't see much. There wasn't a whole lot outside our vision, and so it was well done, and I appreciated it because it put me in it put me in the place. And it heightened the anxiety, right? That we were in this bizarre, not normal place in which I wanted to get the hell out. And Dell did a brilliant job. And so Tarot the whole time was just trying to go in a direction to get out. Meanwhile, though, Big Lug was leading. We took a left down a passage. It led us to where we heard something talking and eating, and it sounded large. And so we all backtracked. We flipped, literally single file. We flipped and walked back. And then I led us up the right-hand passage, and we come into some giant chamber with an 18-foot, all I can call him is he was, I won't say timekeeper, but he was creating energy to open a portal, right? He used a giant hammer, was conducting electricity, was slamming the hammer, and it was creating this manifestation of what later we kind of learned is a portal or a metamorphosis, so to speak, of a reincarnation of a creature. It's the best way I could put it. And again, Dell described it very well, and he later post-session kind of gave us what happened. I kind of like not knowing. I kind of like our characters wouldn't know. We wouldn't know what just happened, right? All we know is we escaped, we survived, and some gigantic serpent, world serpent, was expelled from this portal along with us as we climbed out of the portal, and it shot out of the portal into the Davokar, and I was spit forth as I was caught in its backwash, so to speak, and took some damage. And we lay there watching the portal close as the worm eats the statue's, head or something, and disappears, this gigantic world-eating worm, into the forest of the Davokar. And we survived. And he explained all of it after post session and what it was about, and which was awesome. But I don't really care. Taro doesn't have to know any of that, right? I don't have to know any of that. All I know is I only know what my character has experienced, and I only know what my character survives. I might want to make sense of it in a way as a player, but ultimately I don't. I mean, ultimately, my character and I can be completely oblivious to what this was and how it went down, etc. And but I appreciate Dell sharing with us the whole process, the whole background after session. Matter of fact, I think I recorded that. So at the end of the actual play, like the last 10 minutes, I think Dell kind of sums up what it all was and what was happening and what did happen. So that was appreciated, but he could have just closed gate and said, yeah, this giant, worm of, this giant earth-eating worm or whatever, it disappears into the jungle, the Davokar, as you all lay there, beaten and filthy and whatever, right? And close the game, session done, right? You're alive and good luck getting back, right? But it was fantastic, and I appreciated it because it's different. It's different than what we normally do, I would say it's more traditional. But for Dell and I, it's different than what we normally do with our presenter seat gaming. Dell and I, when we run games, we're generally more naive narrator. I think Dell and I generally we like to ad lib, and we like to create as we go, and we like to roll dice to randomize things, and so it's been fun to do a more traditional gaming, especially with Symbaroum, right? I mean, it's which Symbaroum kind of demands. Doesn't, I mean, you can do anything with anything, right? You can take any game engine and randomize it, hex crawl it, whatever. But it was appreciated. And again, I hated that I missed not only this first session, but our Dark Age of Man session. So we'll get back to it. It's just a crazy time, as we're all adults, and we all have to deal with real life, and we have to deal with stuff. And but it was great. And so the guys were great. We all survived, although Malleus I mean, he was on death's door, I think, the whole session for the most part. Once he got smacked down, and I was rusty. I could not remember rules. I mean, it's been such a whirlwind for me. I wasn't very sharp, so I couldn't quite recall rules. I couldn't remember, can we treat Malleus? I didn't want to a couple of times you'll see in the video, I'm breaking out the book. I'm going to actually look up stuff. And then I thought, screw it. I mean, we'll look it up if it looks like Malleus is going to die, and I could not remember if we could treat him. I couldn't remember. I think I literally was not recalling the rules. So there were a couple times I had to answer I tried to help John, because this is like John's second game ever of Symbaroum. So we were kind of explaining to John how the rules work, etc. So some of that I think I recalled pretty good, but there were a couple of moments where I was kind of blank. And, that's part of that's fatigue, and part of that's, just my mind's been on other things. But great session. And boy, did it feel good to get back, as I've missed now. I don't know, I missed 10 days or something like that. So anyway, I want to thank Dell for a great game. And I thank all the guys again for a fantastic session. And I'm really digging Symbaroum. However, we could do this kind of thing with anything, but I really appreciate the character. What really makes Symbaroum is mechanically interesting to me. It's not just rolling under. Okay, roll over a number, roll under a number. All right, it's just how you do the thing. So obviously Symbaroum's a player makes all rolls roll under. That's fine. Love that. But I like the combat. I like the armor soak. Defense is different than armor soak. I like how armor affects your movement or your quickness. I like how so I like all those kind of simulationist effects. But what I really like is, for a game that really is a fairly traditional I won't say traditional, a fairly common D20 fantasy game. Uh, the world is fantastic, but we are free really to kind of sculpt our characters. And I mean mechanically as well as, again, there's no classes. I mean, there's a, you kind of look at archetypes and you kind of pluck an archetype out and then sculpt it. But you can pretty much, like I said, my ranger is a pike wielding hunter slash ranger, right? We have an ogre ranger. And I really appreciate how I could actually learn a ritual. My character Taro now, I think I've leveled him up twice or three times. I think is what I've earned enough to level him up in 3 attributes. I have not grabbed one ability or trait. So my character is only leveled up his attributes. It's a roll under system, and so I wanted to keep Taro as simple as possible, and I wanted to keep Taro more like old school D&D, where there are no abilities, there are no trait feats, etc. So I'm treating Taro more or less like an old school D&D character, but when I get that experience, I level up an attribute. And considering it's a roll under system, I'm three at all of my I have 3 attributes that have all gone up 1 point, and you max out at 15. You can't go above 15. So there's always, what is that, a 25% chance of failure. So the best you're ever going to be in Symbaroum is 15, and then there could be positive modifiers to make your strength, to make a strength check easier, or like if it's if I'm trying to arm wrestle a weakling, I would have, let's say my strength's a 15 and I'm arm wrestling a weakling. I would get a +2 bonus. My strength to be a 17, and then I would just have to roll 17 or below on the D20 to beat him in an arm wrestling match, so to speak. So it's a very, very simple game that way. And anyway, but I haven't taken any abilities, rituals, or powers. But I can, and that's one of the things I like. I can then narrate that Taro spent, a month in Thistlehold paying thalers to an old witch, and this witch has taught Taro how to do a power or a ritual. Right, I would suffer corruption to learn that because I don't have a school of magic, which is cool. And so I love that there's a trade-off. If Taro decides he really wants to learn a ritual, healing ritual, for instance, I just have to narrate how I acquired this ritual. And then I would suffer some actual permanent corruption for the learning of the ritual because I don't have a school that would keep me, or I'm not part of the prios of priesthood, which protects me from the corruption, so to speak. So there's things like that in Symbaroum that are special to me. And there are things like that that make it a long-term game. They make it a game you could play, in my opinion, infinitely. And I think the game, David's provided sessions that have been completely unique, although we're still in this world, we're still in this, but again, it shows how diverse Symbaroum can be. And then, of course, the way I run a game is pretty dull by comparison, right? I mean, I stick with particular themes. I am a very low fantasy, human centric guy. That's just, it's what I'm about. I love more human and less fantasy. I love more grounded. I mean, as a GM, right? It's just what I prefer, and it tends to bleed into all of my fantasy gaming, right? I like the element of supernatural, being something that human beings or creatures have to deal with or overcome, right? Conan is this thief, warrior, king who lives in a world with politics and cultures, but then he deals with these supernatural things, supernatural beasts that Conan has to overcome, kind of thing. And so I tend toward that kind of fantasy. Or, I really love this was just released. I picked it up at Walmart for $13. I love it. This is based on a real person in the 1300s. Great film. This is medieval. This is 13 whatever in King Wenceslas. I can't remember the whole Hungary, the Hungarian. Anyway, based on a true story. And so it's all human centric. Last Kingdom, those are the things that but I like the idea of what if we have this very gritty, dark, hardcore, introduce a little supernatural to that. And that's just tends how I am. So that's how I tend to prepare games or write games, right? So I guess I would be less, in that way, I'm less, I won't say grotesque, but I'm less supernatural, I suppose. And that's great. I mean, again, it's the thumbprint. I've said it before. there's many ways to put your thumbprint on a game as a GM. Many ways. How you do it, how you communicate, how you adjudicate rules, how you invite the players to be a part of the game, or how you keep the players at a certain place. There's many different ways as a GM to affect a table, and the system itself should inform the GM as well. But the point is, there's a thumbprint, and you can't. It's like trying to change one's eye color, right? I mean, that's who I am. And that's the great thing about sharing the GM roles, right? We get to see how Symbaroum can kind of do all these different things, and it's appreciated. So again, could you do that with OSR? Of course, right? We do it every day. Thousands of people play games of OSR, D&D, etc. I do think, again, though, you can't. System quite literally does affect that quality. And what I mean by that is we can bring that to, say, D&D 5th edition, but D&D 5th edition, the nature of the characters, the nature of the power of the characters does change what D&D feels like. And no matter how grotesque or how gritty you get narratively, they're still heroes. Ultimately, they're going to be heroes. And there's not, it does change the nature of the session. Unlike Symbaroum, again, in one slap, Malleus was reduced, prone and reduced, and in danger of being incapacitated or killed. And that, despite the fact that we've all leveled up our characters at least twice, I think. And because we're rotating characters, some of us miss experience points, but it's fine. I mean, Symbaroum, we've got beginning level characters, and we've got characters that have been around a while, and it isn't throwing off the game either. So, and I think this speaks to the quality of Symbaroum, that we could be running with a ogre, a rookie, and he fits right in, and he's competitive, and he is his character is relevant. We're not all carrying him. And matter of fact, he dispatched he blinded the Cyclops, so to speak. It's not a Cyclops, but I mean, one-eyed creature, blinded it. And so all of these things make Symbaroum a quality game where we don't have to fit everybody into, okay, we're all at level 6. Joke's coming in at level 1. Oh man, he's going to be a detriment. Symbaroum is pretty versatile, and I think those are things that you only get to as you play, and you only begin to recognize how versatile it is in its character makeup, and in its difficulty, and in its application of the mechanics. And so it's appreciated especially as a player-facing game, where the players have much control in a way of the narrative as far as combat. I'm going to do this thing, and all the GM has to say is, "Well, make a cunning roll here for this, Joe." It's very simple. Combat, right? We're kind of in control of the narrative. When he narrates that the beast tries to smack you, you make a roll to see if it hits you. But what that does is it puts us in play, and it gives us agency, and it empowers us to, right? So not so much a can I poke the eye of the creature out, so much as I'm poking the eye of the creature out. You still have to hit him, and then all Dell has to say is, yeah, but that's a -2 because that's a -4. You're calling a shot, and all games have a call shot mechanic generally. But it was, but he's not asking, can I do it? He's saying, I'm trying to poke I'm going to drive this thing through its eyeball, my spear through its eyeball. I want to blind it, basically. And so it just creates this environment. But again, it was great for me. Rarely am I in the actual location. I'm very often and quickly I'm in character. I'm a character first person guy. You'll hear me say I in the session all the time. I'm climbing to the top of the thing. I mean, I don't differentiate myself from Taro. I'm climbing through the thing. I'm going to do this. Once in a while, you hear me say, well, Taro's going to go ahead and open the door. But I pretty much get into first person, and I talk in first person, etc. But rarely do I feel like I'm in this place, right? Rarely do I feel focused and tunnel vision like my character is. And so Dell did a great job providing that sense of darkness, that sense of of smell, that sense of grotesqueness, that sense that we were in a way trapped, but we were viced between one creature we didn't want to face and trying to find a way out. And then up on the next floor, a giant. How are we going to deal with this? And he did a great job introducing the dialogue of the creature, and he did a great job introducing the creature was not completely. He wasn't a monster. He was talking. He might have been nuts. He was uttering riddles, which are all great cues that maybe we can talk to this thing. Maybe there's a way. So this was all so well done, and I greatly appreciated. And the guys were great. I think many of us were, we were all willing to sit and observe and take in all the information we could get, because this is what happens when a character feels its life's in danger. This is what happens when we're put in this sense of shit. How do we navigate through this? It was perfect. Thank you guys. Great session. I look forward to the next one. And everybody out there, have a great week and upcoming weekend. And happy holidays. Bye-bye.